Really nice. Hi, Alex.
Yeah,
Hey,
welcome, Alex. How's it going? We have Alex
oh,
here from Syscoin, and we're going to be talking Syscoin and Rollups. So, looking forward to this conversation. What's up, Alex?
yeah, what an honor, what a privilege. Thank you guys so much. I got my coffee. I'm caffeinated, ready to go. It's gonna be more about coffee though, right? Or more about crypto.
Well, we always ask, what kind of coffee do you drink? What's in your
I'm
cup?
I'm pretty bougie when it comes to coffee. So I'll do like a latte, iced latte, oat milk, cinnamon powder, no sugar.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's bougie.
Oh my God, I drink those. Okay, I'm with
Really?
you on
Okay,
that. I am
nice.
feeling that. Good for you. I'm bougie too, just saying.
I love it. I love it. We're gonna
Yeah,
connect.
that's
We're gonna
pretty
connect
bougie.
well then. We're gonna get along very, very well.
Yeah, I still think our worst coffee take is the Dunkin' Donuts drinker. I'm not gonna call him out by name, but he
He'll
knows who he
probably
is.
never be on the show again, right?
It's we did tell him to try something different and come back, and so
And
that's
it
Give
was,
him another
the
chance.
coffee. Yeah.
yes, it was a Dunkin' Donuts coconut. It was like some sort of
Ugh.
coconut something. And I'm like,
Coconut
I don't
oil
even,
with coconut oil in it.
coconut oil. Oh my God, no.
Well, Starbucks has one with olive oil in it. Apparently, like putting oil in your coffee is, I don't know.
Yeah, that's new. They're advertising that everywhere. Man, so yeah, so that guy must have been like a Luna guy or something on the cryptos, or an
Oh
FTX guy.
no. Okay, we do love him. That's why I didn't call him out by name. But he's definitely not a Luna guy. We're not going to do that to him in case he hears this. But yeah,
I'm teasing.
let's go ahead and kick it off. We are back for another episode of Crypto and Coffee. We were off last week. I had a great time off, but it's I missed a lot of drama, but it's good to be back, and we'll talk about everything that's been going on a little bit later on in the show. But today we have Alex here from Syscoin. So, Alex, welcome. It's your first time in CNC. Maybe just give us a little intro. What is Syscoin, if for people that might not know what it is and what you guys are building?
Yeah, thanks again. I know I've been following you for quite a while, and the crypto and coffee pod here that you guys got. So it's pretty awesome to get the invitation over here. But yeah, to keep it pretty simple and direct, Syscoin is essentially a blockchain that's taking the best components of Bitcoin and Ethereum and putting it into like one modular design that's going to be ultimately scalable. And to sum it up, really, how do we do that? Well, with Bitcoin, you have its value through security, through decentralization. It's gold standard. It's pretty much like digital gold, right? And on the Ethereum side, Ethereum introduced programmable money, smart contracts, and we like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 50, a million blockchains out there, right? And they're all kind of trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to make it as efficient as possible to create something that can scale, something that's secure, something that's fast and decentralized. So instead of kind of taking that approach where we want to reinvent the wheel, we just said, let's take what's already awesome and go ahead and build on that. So we use Bitcoin security through a term called merge mining. Not a lot of people know about this. It's essentially taking Bitcoin's proof of work hash that the miners are doing and applying it to the Syscoin blockchain. So the people who are mining Syscoin or Bitcoin can also mine Syscoin. So that's what makes it unique. Satoshi actually talked about this in not in the white paper, but in some forums. So we applied this. There's some other blockchains that apply that concept as well. Doge actually does it, but they merge mine with Litecoin. And then side by side, we run an Ethereum virtual machine. So same programmable ERC20s, ERC721s for NFTs. Like you can essentially do that. Where the big difference is, and I'm going to kind of sum it all up here, is with the modular design. As you guys know, everybody's kind of start moving into layer twos. Binance just announced that they're creating a layer two for their blockchain. Obviously, Ethereum has multiple layer twos, Optimism, Arbitrum, ZK Sync. So we've got a layer two that we've set up. It's called Rollups. It's a fork of Optimism, and it's set to be the most performant rollup in all of blockchain. So I'm really excited for that to come out. talking about like the lowest gas fees, probably the fastest of the rollups out there. So it's going to be exciting. Like all this work, because Cisco's been around since 2014. We've always looked at the market, always seen like, hey, what's actually going to scale in the future? Have a futuristic view. So it's been a lot of development, and now it's kind of like, all right, we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're going to be able to say, this is what we've got. So, yeah, the biggest difference from us and Ethereum, I would say, would be that we're proof of work. We're not proof of stake because we're using Bitcoin's proof of work algorithm to secure our network. And then also data availability. I can't, like, I've made so many videos on this. Can't stress enough the importance that people need to understand what data availability is. The way that these blockchains work is that, or these rollups work, is you have these layer twos, and you're posting transactions on the layer one because the layer two inherits the security of that layer one. But all that data is getting like clogged into the layer one, and eventually it's going to kind of get fill up, and the fees are going to stack up, and the network's going to get boggled. So with that, you need a data availability solution, which Ethereum is working on, and it's something that we already have live on our actual layer one in a decentralized fashion. It's called proof of data availability. So that felt like a ton of talking. I hope you guys got it.
No, yeah, I definitely. What's interesting that yesterday I hosted BNB Chain regarding OPBNB, and we kept on talking. I've been hearing this word more, data availability, which I had not heard, in the past few months. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, interesting stuff. So, as far as Rollups, because I was really intrigued by Rollups, is that going to be a layer two solution just on the EVM side, or is it also for Bitcoin?
It's a very good question. It's so think of our blockchain as like our EVM and like the Bitcoin side, it runs side by side. So there's actually two versions of Syscoin, but you can just transfer back and forth. And the Bitcoin side, nobody really uses that because if you think about it, all the innovation is with like tokens and NFTs and smart contracts. So the layer two is secured by the Bitcoin miners, and it kind of just runs in tandem. So I hope that answers your question. It is the EVM side, but it's still secured by the Bitcoin side. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense. I'll throw it over to Dow or Tammy to see if they have any questions or comments before we keep it rolling.
I have a
Jazz
thousand
music?
questions, but
Are you playing jazz in the background?
It's very soothing, whatever it is.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm in a cafe, and my friend here, who's the owner, he always puts this like music, and I'm just learned to tune it out. So I'm gonna mute myself when I'm not talking, even though it's soothing.
I
I'm
was
like
gonna say,
looking at all my computer screens, like, where do I have YouTube? Like, who is unmuted? Go ahead,
that's
Yeah,
so
Dow.
nice
it's
Sorry about
music.
definitely a
that.
little bit of elevator music here.
Yes, it's very soothing. It's very calming.
yeah, it's very soothing indeed. Yeah, great music. I might have bring some music myself in the background. But yeah, I had a thousand questions because this is super exciting to hear about rollups for Bitcoin. But I'll limit maybe to just a few. So you mentioned that it will be EVM compatible. So I think what most people would want to know is would that then look like something along the lines of Arbitrum or Optimism from an end user point of view? Like will be similar type of apps and similar type of wallet experiences.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Syscoin has like I was saying, UTXO and EVM running side by side. We have a layer one blockchain, but the way that we designed it, nobody really uses the layer one because it's meant to be like our data layer. So technically, yeah, there are some apps on our layer one, and yeah, the experience with the dApps, like there's DeFi there, there's MetaMask and stuff. It's just not used as much because like the layer two is where all the scaling is going to go, and that's the way it was designed purposely because we don't want people building on the layer one. And if you were to build like there are some apps on the layer one, but they're like 2.5 minute block time. So if you're going to do like a DeFi trade, it'll probably take like anywhere from like 2 to 10 minutes for it to get done. So people understand, a lot of our community understands, hey, this is designed this way on purpose because layer one is meant for security, for consensus. It's like your court system. And then layer two is where all the scaling is. So all this work that we've been doing the last year of getting infrastructure, getting partners, dApps, games, like it's all to build on the layer two. So, while growth is always kind of slow and steady, like it's this moment that we've been waiting for, which we should be launching live mainnet next week.
All right, really exciting. And you mentioned the moment, right? I think it's important to put the context, right? Like recently, since the ordinals, there's been a renewal in terms of being creative and adding value to the Bitcoin layer, right? And so this idea of having a layer two, I think, is receiving a bit more a warmer audience now, right, than maybe from the BTC maxis of a few years ago. So I'd love to hear what's the reaction that you're getting so far from both the Bitcoin community, but also from maybe you would call it the DeFi Web3 community that's already building on chain like Solana or Ethereum or what have you. And is there one that's a bit more uh, warming towards like building on your layer two?
Of course, man. Of course. The web 3 side of things is just way more collaborative, and they're way happier to kind of share resources and partner up and stuff like that. The Bitcoin community, on the other hand, is toxic, right? And they're very maximalist. But that's why, like, I'm not a fan of the ordinals, but I love what the ordinals did to kind of spice things up on the Bitcoin side. And now it's really getting to the point where people are starting to see us as that kind of, hey, we're doing all the cool Web3 stuff, but we're leveraging Bitcoin security. So I'm pushing for that narrative, and I think that narrative is slowly starting to come out. And I think if we do that, then, you know, there's going to be a shift where we'll get a lot of attention.
Great questions. And I do see we have some hands up. Good morning, Ben. What's going on?
GM, Jess, thanks for having me here. I think this is a very interesting and cool topic. And I love what Alex was saying about L1s being essentially to develop like infrastructure and core stuff and then doing apps and scalable apps on L2s. I think it's the right mindset. However, I do have a question more in regards to adoption and partnership because at the core of any of these L2 business models, it's the establishment of key partnerships to drive adoption and make sure that people actually want to use it and you get the right support, you have the right incentives in place to make sure that the project is a success due to its usage. And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you because like we can agree that the technical aspect of it, it's there. But my question would be, how would you drive things in a way that you can actually establish these partnerships, considering the environment of that market, of how resistant they are to all these things, and yes, so on and so forth. Even considering what you saw in Ordinal so far.
Yeah, absolutely love this question because you're bringing real talk to the table, man. It's not easy. With L2s and the way things are designed, it brings a couple of challenges. One of those is like liquidity fragmentation and then accessibility, right? So there's a few more barriers to entry. And that right there is one limitation. And then you've got the other limitation, which is there's a lot of gatekeeping in this crypto industry where these big companies like the chain links of the world, they're not scaling to any chains, right? They're going to the ones that are paying them the most money. But then Chainlink, for example, has a monopoly because everyone uses them for like price feeds. That's just one example. But you see that throughout the crypto industry. So it does pose a bunch of freaking challenges to be able to grow your blockchain. And then the third reason is like there's just like a shit ton of competition, right? With a lot more money out there. There's a lot of VC capital. They have their agendas to push. Like, let's be real here. So yeah, there's gonna be challenges to bring freaking dApps in and people building and then using and you're running into like that chicken and egg problem, right? Where you want the users, but the users want dApps, and then the dApps want to come in, but they want users. So a lot of times, like, you can have the freaking best technology in the world, but sometimes it doesn't matter. But I think the way that we've tackled that is like making some really good strategic partnerships, looking for unicorn type apps that would build on our platform, and I feel like we've got a few of those that are in the pipeline, and that's going to bring people in. And the other thing is just accessibility, making it friggin' easy to access, the Rolex ecosystem on Syscoin. And that's going to be, technology improvements, developments, and, a lot of work. And I'm really proud of like our business development department, because, they work hard in building relationships. We've gone to many conferences. We pretty much know everyone, and they like us. At least I think they do. So we've always got like open doors with everyone.
Yeah, I love that answer, but also I love that piano music on the background. But in regards to what you said,
Y'all are gonna give me shit for this all the whole spaces, huh?
no, it's actually fucking dope. I love piano music like that. But yeah, I like how transparent and real you are about these challenges, because yes, it's definitely what we want to hear in the community, to know like, okay, yes, whoever is doing that, it's 100% in tune with what's going on and transparent about those challenges. And I think that's super cool. And also the way you are tackling it, by pretty much, it's almost like the marketplace problem, right? Which one are you bringing, the vendors or the clients, and they attract each other and stuff like that, right? And the fact that you already have like quote unquote a vendor on the pipeline, right, or somebody to come build some cool stuff in there, I think it's a dope way to go about it, and I can't wait to see it. Best of luck on it.
Yeah, man. And also like shout out to you guys out here, influencers that are like Jess. I've seen you. I don't know how long I've been following you, but for you,
I
for
hate that
example,
word, influencer. I like enthusiast better.
yeah, but still,
Really.
like, yeah, okay, enthusiasts, yeah. But like just seeing you out here, like day in and day out, like doing the spaces and doing stuff, like we need people like that, like being real with people and kind of promoting that enthusiasm within communities. And that's how you grow stuff, right? Like if meme coins can freaking grow, like why can't we do it? And that's why like I value each and every person listening to this space, because they're taking the time out of the day to, see what we've got going on. And hopefully that encourages them to check us out and, see our novel intentions.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Joey, I see you have your hand up. Good morning and welcome.
GMGAGE GDBJ. Am I missing any? I don't know. There's a lot of them out there. So first, I love the music. I honestly thought like Jess and Tammy were playing coffee shop music, and this was like a totally new vibe that I was 100% digging. And I think we should put a poll up. I know, I'm dead serious. I think we should put a poll up to see if we should like rock this like chill coffee house vibe music for every crypto and coffee, because it's super cool. That was the first reason why I came up. The second reason is, I've been in crypto, blockchain, NFTs for a long time, but I am not a tech person, right? I try to pretend sometime on spaces that I know what I'm talking about by just repeating what other people tell me. And then I typically throw them like a quarter and I'm like, hey, used your phrase from that other spaces to make myself sound smart. But the reality is,
Fake it till you make it, bro.
right. But the reality is I'm still learning a lot when it comes to the tech. And I'm on your website as you're talking and listening to you and kind of reading and understanding. And I guess for somebody who's still, like a newbie, I guess, when it comes to the tech, because I've never been a developer or anything like that, could you explain a little bit more how it operates like dual chain? Like, how is it possible to be built? From what I'm reading, right? How is it possible to be built? It says like on the security of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's, but also works with Ethereum. And like, how does this, like, how long did it take you guys to develop this? Like, how does it work? Like for me, as somebody who doesn't understand it, if you can explain it
Explain
in
it
like,
to me like
yeah,
I'm five.
yeah, you know,
There's so many components to explain because it is a complex system. I think what you're asking more specifically is how does like a dual chain work? I can break that
We could
down.
start. Yeah, we could start there.
Yeah,
Let's go with
uh,
dual chain.
yeah. I mean, I guess dual chain. The way that you can explain that is simply, um, you think of a. Uh, I had my illustration. I totally forgot it, but when Syscoin was first created, it was created more with like the Bitcoin influence, and then they saw like okay, like Ethereum is like the leader in programmable money with smart contracts and all that stuff. So essentially, the UTXO side of things, just think of it as a bridge in the middle. So anything that happens on the EVM side comes back and gets verified by the UTXO side, which is the merge mine side. And when I say UTXO, that's just, I don't even know what that stands for, but it stands for, it's like the Bitcoin type tech. We say EVM for Ethereum, and for Bitcoin, we say UTXO. So everything that happens on the EVM side just kind of
Wait,
falls back.
I googled UTXO stands for unspent transaction output.
Yes, so that's how their transactions work on Bitcoin, where Ethereum is account based. So now you're having me get into tech, which I don't want to mess it up here. Architecture, I'm pretty good at explaining, but like getting into the nitty gritty, if I have to say the word mempool, like I'm gonna totally mess it up.
The mempool is where the memes go. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, so I'll ask a super basic question then.
Mhm.
Why Syscoin? What is the story behind the name, the logo? Like, where did that come from?
So they started in 2014, and it was at that time they noticed that like there wasn't really a good scalable payment system, but then they just kept building and kept seeing what's going to scale in the future, and they saw Ethereum and their roadmap and how they were doing things, but the design wasn't optimal. So that's where, when you ask why Syscoin, is well, we have an optimal design. Ethereum's moving to modular. They moved over to proof of stake, which is less secure. It's more centralized, and they're going to have issues with data availability and people still using layer one. So it's primed for us to really not only be secure, decentralized, but be able to scale long term because of the way that we're designed. Is That's the way that I would put it. So, like, I'll give you an example. We are talking to Galaxy the other day, which is like this NFT platform where they run like campaigns for dApps and stuff like that. And they're on a few different chains: Optimism, BSC, Polygon. And our fees, like, let's just say Avalanche was like 1 to 3 cents, and our fees were like for the same exact contract to mint an NFT, it was like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a cent. So even if the price of Syscoin goes up, 50x, 100x, whatever, like you're still gonna have like the lowest fees in blockchain. So it's pretty exciting to see something that's actually gonna scale and be able to handle, economies of scale. So that's why Syscoin, like I feel like it's the complete solution.
Great questions, Joey. And yeah, it's a lot to take in because we're all used to, the normal, okay, EVM, layer two, and now you got this dual architecture blockchain. You're like, what the hell? Like everything I knew, throw it out the window. I know nothing. I know nothing is
No,
how
but like
sometimes I feel.
you've got the main thing, Jess. Like it's really because all the adoption is on the EVM side, right? And now with the layer two, so that's the most important thing that you need to understand is that we've got that capability. You just know that Bitcoin is in the background securing us in some form or fashion. So that's the cool thing.
Yeah, and then maybe let's talk a little bit like what does the user experience and what does the developer experience look like? Like building on Rollups or using Rollups. Like what does that experience look like on both sides?
Yeah, it's very similar to what you're going to see with like all these other chains. There's a bridge to go from like your layer one to your layer two, And that's where, you can see examples like on Arbitrum, ZK Sync, Optimism. We have a bridge that's going to look very similar to that. We'll also be working with third-party bridge aggregators. So, since we're an optimistic rollup, when you're going back to layer one, you have to wait like a 7-day period, but you can kind of skip that by going through a third-party bridge, and that'll have some liquidity, and people will be able to tap into that. Yeah, they might pay a little bit more of a fee, but they get access to their funds. And then same with like on-ramping. We have on-ramping directly to the layer two. So we're trying to make it as easy for the users as possible. And then developers, same thing. Like we're consistently working on developer documentation, and then as a team, just being available for people that want to build on us, like, and say, hey, we're here to help you. I know that's been a complaint with a lot of dApps. So like, yeah, we were talking to XYZ blockchain, and they're not really helpful or answering us. Well, this is where we could set ourselves apart as human beings and offer our help and disposition, so they build with us.
Yeah, I love that. Ben, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Jess. I wanted to ask you, Alex, also taking the opportunity that you are super transparent. I love that. Basically, considering the architecture of your solution, of how it's built on top of BTC, but still leveraging EVM stuff for the L2, how would you compare this architecture or setup against other solutions in regards to the risks it brings and the advantages it has over the other solutions?
I mean, I think not the burden of proof, but like all these other blockchains are the ones that need to prove to you that they're decentralized and secure. Like we're going with a proven system already, which is Bitcoin. Like nobody can really fight that. So that's where that's where I feel like we have the biggest advantage, because you literally have the Bitcoin miners securing Syscoin. So that's my answer to that.
So let me expand a little bit more. So basically anything that happens after money or value is breached onto your L2, to go back into the L1, it would need to be confirmed somehow by your solution that then computes things into the L1, right? So
Right. Okay.
imagine a panicking investor with 20 millis. And they would totally depend on your solution to be confirming things into the L1 and stuff like that. For instance, look at Optimism, or was it Optimism or Arbitrum that ran out of gas and was not confirming things on the Ethereum L1?
Yeah,
those types of risks.
Yeah. So like with Optimism and a lot of these layer twos, optimistic rollups, you have like single sequencers. So, and sorry for the non-tech people here, we're kind of going to get a little techie, because rollups is still pretty novel. There's still a lot of growth in that kind of blockchain ecosystem. There's still trade-offs, right, that you have to make. That's why there's still purpose there for the layer one. I think what our solution has done is our proof of data availability solution is what kind of makes that easier. So if something ever happens to the layer two and like a sequencer goes down, that proof of data availability on the layer one is your exit, and that's already live on mainnet, decentralized. There's no like external DA. It's all internal, and I can explain if y'all want to know what data availability is. I can explain that in layman's term for the crowd. But did you understand that, Ben? I can't really.
Yes,
you get the concept, right?
Yes, I get the concept. I got the gist out of it. So basically, there is a solution that wouldn't depend on your quote unquote approval, so that people could still move their funds and values on the L1 if needed.
Exactly. And Ethereum's working on this too. Sharding and proto-dank sharding, they're working on that. But we're already live with that. So yeah, I'll definitely offline. I'll get you a more technical answer if you're curious.
No, I love to hear that. That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
But Alex, we'll take you on the offer to explain data availability. I think it's a really important topic and concept that is still a bit foreign to most people.
Yes, yes. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what our data availability, how our data availability solution, but I'll tell you the issue in general. Okay, so as I was saying before, the layer two inherits the security of the layer one. So think of your layer two as a huge shipping container, and we're packing in all these transactions, and we're optimizing it because we can now fit all these transactions, all these contract calls into this container, and then just send it over to layer one island at a cheap rate and run things very fast. The problem is with that is that you have to be able to prove that that data existed, and you have to be able to essentially be able to call it from the layer one, or call it from the layer two, what was sent to layer one. So once you've done that, the way that it's stored on the L2, you can consider that blockchain like a huge smart contract, and just to put it simple. So there is a function called call data, and that call data adds data. And that data on the layer one essentially gets loaded over time, and it puts more and more stress on the blockchain. So you have to have some archival form of data, some way to spread it out, and some way to call it. That way your blockchain can run efficiently. That's data availability right there. Because if not, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to fill up the layer one blockchain. Let's use Ethereum as an example here. You're going to fill up Ethereum. You're going to boggle the network at times, so you'll still have the same problems where transactions are taking a while. And those fees are going to go up, which in turn are going to make the fees on the layer two also go up. So that's the problem right now. That I wouldn't say it's too much of a problem now, but it's going to be a huge problem when you scale. That's why Ethereum is working on this whole EIP 4844 of proto-dank sharding. What we've done in Syscoin, we've taken a more simple approach and more novel approach. And I would kind of describe it, let's think of a court system, right? So while Ethereum is like spreading out the data among everyone, think of us like we have a jury, right? You know, all 8 or 10 of us speakers. Let's say we have some evidence, right? That's the data. And then someone needs to go back and call that data and needs to see the evidence. Do they really need to see that each of us have each of us have that evidence? If we can all come to an agreement and say, okay, yeah, this evidence is all the same, like we don't need 10 copies of this evidence, then we just put it, we put our stamp of approval on it and say, okay, it's done. We can get rid of 9 of the 10 copies, and then we archive the last copy. So we keep the system light. That's essentially what our blockchain is doing. So we prune the data after like 6 hours, and we archive, 1 copy of it. So as long as you have 1 copy, you can completely prove it. But then we put a hash in the system that shows, okay, this data was legit. And so if we take it back to the illustration that I was given, let's say a lawyer needs to examine a case, they can go back and see, okay, yeah, they had this evidence, and they can even recall a piece of it, but you're keeping the blockchain light, which is what you need to do to be able to scale. So I don't know if I described that as eloquently as I was thinking it in my head, but
That was great, man. I loved it. Plus, with
thanks.
the music in the background was very smooth as
Oh
well.
gosh.
Well, it
It
looked
was
like
great.
somebody was getting beat up back there or something. I don't know. But I did have a question, and then I'll throw it over to Tammy, Dow, and Leo. So what about, so you guys have obviously been building this for a while. Ordinals now popped up. Any support for that, or is that anything you guys are taking into consideration now with all this new stuff popping up?
I mean, it's cool. I say it's cute because like it's cute. You can do stuff on Bitcoin, but it doesn't make sense. Like, why are you going to? And this is a personal opinion. If somebody wants to disagree with me, that's fine. I think a lot of people on the tech-oriented side, like I can see the value of adding, um, inscribing things onto the Bitcoin network, but it's kind of unnecessary, and it's a waste of resources, and it costs a lot of money. So why do that when you have other, cheaper alternatives and more efficient alternatives? So I like what it's done because it's opened up the conversation. It's like, how can we leverage Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is the most, ultimately secure and decentralized blockchain. Now we can start talking about that. And then this is where we can kind of, sneak into the party and say, hey, look, I got Bitcoin security. And, we can be the one that stands out within the crowd.
No, I respect that. Yeah, I think once I heard, Bitcoin metaverse, all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is starting to seem a little weird. But
Oh, and let's go back to this. There is no data availability layer on Bitcoin. So it's like you can't scale it. They would need some sort of external data availability. That's why I freaking preach about data availability all the freaking time, because it's that important. People just don't realize it yet until, you know, the news starts talking about it.
yeah, the only other, I see Hector laughing. The only other way to make Bitcoin scale is with bigger blocks. And we all know Hector likes his big blocks and he cannot lie. So go down.
Yes, I'm glad that you touched on the concept of ordinals, right? I'm the same way. I'm not super bullish on them, but I wonder if we can make a similar point that for ordinals to work, right, miners have to opt in into maintaining, I guess, this index, right, of descriptions, right. So I know that your launch is coming up, I think, on the 28th of June, right? So super excited for that, and I'm wondering for the merge mining, would it work the same way in the sense that miners will also have to opt in participating in merge mining as opposed to just regular mining?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, as you know, most people mine through mining pools, right? So, if you're, yes, there's a basic setup. Like, let's say you're an individual miner and you're mining Bitcoin, you want to merge mine Syscoin or any of these other merge mine coins, you just set up a node and uh, you do a little tech stuff, and then you're up and running and you're mining Bitcoin simultaneously. You'll be mining the other coins as well. We do have some mining pools that already mine Syscoin, so we have about 20 to 30% of the global hash rate of Bitcoin. So that's how secure our network is. And uh, the more mining pools that add us, like the more stronger and secure our network will get. And I can't announce anything yet, but let's just say I got a good relationship with one of these pools, and they're gonna start mining us, and that's gonna make us jump even higher, and it just makes us more legitimate. It makes us look good.
Great question, Dal. Tammy, did you have any questions or comments before I throw it over to Joey and Leo?
No, you can go ahead and throw it over to them. I just had some closer to close out so that I don't redirect anything. So go ahead, guys.
Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, so my question centers around kind of what you were saying about ordinals, and you understand, like, provenance and inscribing, but you don't understand, why do like ordinals and stuff. I guess for me, my question is the technology on Bitcoin the last, like, 2 to 3 months, and what's been built has been like exponential, right? Is there a future, or do you see a future on how this can be done in a scalable way now with recursion and
Yep.
all these other things that are being built, that it does make sense because Bitcoin is the holy grail and provenance, and or do you, and no one knows, but or you vision this as just like a fad, right? Like what do you see as the future here?
I freaking love this question. I wish Jag was here. Jag's like, I don't want to call him our CTO. He's our lead core dev. He's essentially a CTO, CEO, whatever you want to call him. He's the leader. I wish he was here to talk about this. But okay, so short answer, yes. I do think it's a fad because ultimately narratives shift this world, right? We see it from anything, from the political spectrum to. Sorry, I got to call in. Can you guys hear me?
Now we
Okay,
can hear
okay, yeah.
you.
I hate when that happens. where was I? I said, oh, so
You said political spectrum narrative, and then you kind of went away.
Okay, yeah. So there's literally, do I think it's a fad? And I think the answer, yes, it's a fad. I hope it's not, but I think it is, because everything is shifted around narratives. As you know, there's politics is shifted around narratives. So many examples that we have that's of things shifted through narratives. So if we don't shift that narrative to having people build on Bitcoin with all these advancements, then it's not going to take off. And unfortunately, because of like the Bitcoin maximalists, they haven't had shit be able to take off. Like, look at Lightning Network. Where's that gone? You know, everyone talks about it, but there's really no true mass scale or adoption to Lightning Network. So it's lacking. But the answer is yes. Like, it could be something. We could build stuff on Bitcoin. You know, Jag, our guy, he was saying, like, all you need the data availability layer. It goes back to that. So one thing that we talked about with some people were literally inscribing things directly on Bitcoin, but using Syscoin as a data availability layer. So that's another kind of like secret weapon that we have. There's blockchains that are built for data availability, but imagine like we have data availability and we're using it on the layer one, which is already secured by Bitcoin. So yeah, it's definitely possible. We just have to work hard to really, you know, spin the narrative the other way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, everything, is it going to stay around? I don't know. I have no clue. The space moves so fast that, you know, now we're a week later, we're a Bitcoin metaverse. Who knows what next week it's going to be. But I did see, before I go to bed, I did see Leo's up here. Hey, Leo, how's it going?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I was with Joy. Like, what is? I don't know. I'm just curious because this is also new. Like, how is this gonna work, or like benefits in the long run? That's kind of what I'm looking at. But it's gonna launch on the 28th, I think Dow said. But I'm curious to see, and I'm excited because anything that has to do with BTC, it's shit. I mean, everything that's coming out right now is just early, so it's a good time, and I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. But just the longevity of the project and stuff like that's what I was curious about. As far as your vision, like 1 or 2 years down the line, you know, which is hard to grasp, but it's for me, it's being in it for even a month right now. If I was in crypto, you know, that's kind of what I'm looking for now versus just buying everything. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody wanted to buy, what is the purpose? And that, but we'll just wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I think, you know, in reality, I see our competitor being Ethereum, and where is our advantage? Well, with the data availability solution and the fact that we're secured by proof of work through Bitcoin's consensus. Now, that's just part of the battle, man. Like, there's a whole another battle that we got to face, and that's making a very accessible platform for people to easily be able to use it. So all these tools, whether it's wallets, whether it's, I don't want to use a big word, but like account abstraction type stuff, which is like account recovery, pretty much. All those little things are going to make a big deal to be able to create adoption and bring the users in. And then you need the apps, of course. Like, what's the point of having a amazing railroad if you don't have any trains on there, or amazing highway without any nice cars to drive through it? So that's going to be paramount for us to succeed. So I do feel like we've got some pretty cool unicorn apps in the works, and that's going to bring kind of that popularity over. And that combined with like a lot of narrative shift, people will see, you know, firsthand, just because how it works just like all these other Ethereum chains, right? EVM chains is going to work the same. So it's not like you have to download like, you know, XYZ wallet and do all these crazy stuff. Like, it's the same process. So all the people who are used to using, you know, Ethereum style blockchains will also, you know, they'll easily get acclimated to what we have. And yeah, that's pretty much how I feel like it'll take off. So it's a multifaceted approach. There's a lot that needs to go on, and it's going to take time, but man, it's just hard work, right? Hard work, belief.
No, I'm actually excited because it's new. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, let's just put something in Ethereum. So that's what I'm excited about. It's just listening in as I was coming in. But yeah, it's kind of saying, hey, it's broken, but it's really not, because you're just so new. So it's just going to take time. People just got to be, no, hey, it's a new project, it's a new protocol, whatever you want to call it.
Hey, but
You just got to give
Syscoin
it
has
time.
been around for 2014, so I do want to clarify that it's just Rollups is new.
Yeah,
No,
it's
correct,
like
correct.
you could say we're new and old. You could say because we're old because we predate Ethereum, the layer one. So it's like all that building that was done for the last 6, 7, 8 years, whatever. And then now it's like finally the layer two is coming out, and this is like our true coming out party. So it feels new because people are actually going to be using Syscoin, and people are actually going to be spending it and interacting with it just the same way they do with ETH. And we really haven't had that. It's been more like just holders and visionaries that they see like oh yeah, Sys has got all this potential, but there's not really much use case for it compared to now, where people are going to be using it. It's going to be for gas fees and everything.
Great question, Leo. Thanks for coming up as usual. I did have a quick question before I throw it over to Ben, and then we'll start wrapping it up at the top of the hour. What about I hate that word, interoperability. So let's say you have assets on, on Syscoin, on Rollups. Are we stuck there? Are you able to move them around? What is the interoperability? There you go, third time's the charm. Between Syscoin, Rollups, and other chains. I hate
Say it
that word.
say it 3 times really fast.
Interoperability.
There you go. Practice makes perfect. Yeah, I think interoperability is very important, and especially now while people are just going to be trying different blockchains and they have their favorites, right, or their typical ones they go to. They need reasons to be able to move over, so that accessibility is super important. So we've got various partnerships with multiple bridges, and the bridge space is real. These third-party bridges, I feel like there's a lot of innovation going on. It is a little bit, I don't know, I like the bridges. They create a lot of convenience, but it also kind of makes me a little bit nervous because you hear about all these things happening with bridges. But yeah, like that's not a problem. Like we will be working with Change Finance, which is one bridge aggregator that does things really well and makes the user experience really simple. You got multi-chain out there, and then just a bunch of these other aggregators. So yeah, like making sure we're integrated with them and getting those relationships solidified, it was going to make it just easy for people to just hop on chain and be able to move around the way that they want.
Love to hear that. Ben, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Jess. Yes, I wanted to ask you actually two questions. I'm gonna try to be super brief. Like in regards to ordinals, even before that, you said something about having infrastructure or a road and not having cars going in there, right? And that's how I look at infrastructure focused development, right? You want to have cars going there. You want to have users and people building dApps and shit like that. Cool, like what makes you believe that, considering that Ordinal is getting some adoption, although it's kind of a centralized, in a way, protocol, the way it's being adopted right now, it's quote unquote a centralized protocol on top of a decentralized network. Like, besides that weakness, what makes you think that Ordinals wouldn't keep on getting adoption? Because from a usage perspective, like it's still transparent to the end user. They still don't really care what's happening under the hood, as long as things are working in a way, if that's even a fair take. And like my second question would be like more in regards to competing with Ethereum. Why? Because like since 2017, I've been hearing about Ethereum killers and competitors and stuff like that. Why do you think you are on to compete with Ethereum and not with Ethereum's layer twos? And if you think it's a fair question, so what use cases could you enable besides those already enabled by Ethereum, more on a perspective of differentiating rather than competing? Because to be honest, Ethereum has a massive TVL that crushes anything out there. So like, it's an ambitious goal. I love it, but of course you need plan A and a plan B, and maybe having something that allows you to differentiate would definitely guarantee your survival rather than just straight up competing head on with Ethereum. What do you think about those?
Dude, that's what we talk about on a day in and day out basis. And I want to spend most of the time talking about that second question rather than the first question, because the first question is the answer I think is very simple, is that it's slow and it can't scale. Like when it comes to ordinals, that's why I don't think it'll get to where it needs to be unless they, make some big technology changes, adoptions, like adding the whole data availability layer and stuff like that, working with that end. But yeah, like with it's hard to compete with Ethereum because and I don't know why so many chains do it. I think it stems from like people coming up with a unique novel idea and a lot of people throwing money at it from the VC side, and they know how to capitalize and make a shit ton of money on their investments through the pumps and the hype of the crypto crowds, to be quite honest. But I don't think a lot of these will survive. With us specifically, I think we have a good chance just because the way that our blockchain is designed, like I don't think we're a competitor. I say we're a competitor with Ethereum because we provide that layer one infrastructure, that security layer, right? That's what Syscoin is. It's not really competing against the L2s. You could say Rollups is competing against the L2s. But what's most important, in order for an L2 to be optimized and work well, is like you need that solid L1. And that's what we provide. We have a better modular design on the layer one with the proof of data availability, with 2.5 minute block time, so things don't get boggled down in the system, and we're proof of work with the Bitcoin security, as I was mentioning before. So we have that advantage, right? Like from the tech perspective. But yeah, like the concern behind everything else is like, oh, everyone else is so freaking used to using Ethereum. It's the standard, like it's massive TVL. It's like, why are we fighting for like a little sliver of the pie when Ethereum owns most of that pie? So that's going to pose challenges, and I don't have answers to all that. But I do think that's where narrative again comes in. We're going to have to freaking shift the narrative back to proof of work and leverage that. And for that, you need influential people, influential companies to see that. And then also like more novel things, like you were saying, we're big into regulatory compliance, so we're looking into regulatory compliant rollups. That's on a roadmap. We've already got that infrastructure set up, partnerships with enterprise, but anyone can essentially deploy a layer 2 on top of Syscoin. So like Jag, our CTO, he sees a future where a lot of these layer 1s, if they don't want to stay obsolete, they essentially have to become layer 2. So at that point, you're going to choose, do you want to build your layer 2, or do you want to migrate your chain or whatever onto Ethereum, or do you want to do it to Syscoin? It's like, you want to have that security, or you want to go on the ETH side? So it's kind of like if not this, then that. So it really, instead of competing, I feel like instead of us competing against like 1,000 different blockchains, it's really just Ethereum is the big one to compete against. But yeah, it's definitely climbing a high mountain, but there's definitely purpose. Like I think I've talked enough to convince kind of everyone here that yeah, we do serve like a novel, unique purpose. And once the layer 2 comes out and people are saying like, damn, this shit is cheap, and they're able to just run transactions, it's just going to prove itself, just kind of like Bitcoin had to prove itself over time. So nothing happens from day in to day out, maybe on price action, but not in adoption.
Great
Thank
questions,
you.
Ben. Great questions. And we are coming up at the top of the hour. So before we move on to the next section of our show, I'll throw it over to Nico for the last question. Good morning, Nico.
Good morning, guys. So Syscoin is proof of work?
Yep.
That's proof of work. All right, cool. my question is, you're not working on a data like, because with the recursion, what it works like a callback on Bitcoin, so they could take data from somewhere else and put like and call it in. It works something like IPFS on Ethereum.
Right.
So like you could call, like, if you guys aren't working on a data availability layer, because you mentioned it, and I just want to make sure.
We are a data availability layer. Like
No,
our
I
layer
know
one
for Bitcoin,
has data availability.
for
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah. All right. So Syscoin. No. So obviously, like you said, like one solution is Bitcoin can use Syscoin as a data availability layer. So that would actually be a very pretty cool use case.
So what you're saying is that with the recursion, you could probably do it already.
Yeah. Don't ask me like the tech intricacies, but I could definitely get that information for you. But yeah, it's something that our CTO had talked about. It's like, you want to build on Bitcoin? Yeah, you use Syscoin as a DA layer, and you can do it very, very efficiently.
No,
And I
no,
believe
yeah.
it would.
When you said that, I was like, wait a second, because I actually just looked into the recursive side, because technically it is, it's not. It works more like a callback. And when I learned that, I'm like, and then you said that, I'm like, wait a second, that should be like kind of already done. And I just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Nico, for coming up and for the question. Andrew, what's going on? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I appreciate you guys pulling me up. Alex, I hope you're doing well. I don't want to ask any questions that are regurgitated, so I will ask this one. I'm sure there's been a ton of great questions up here, so great job, guys. Alex, what are your thoughts on people actively building on Bitcoin, whether it be the metaverse, BRCs, anything to that extent? What's kind of your thought process on that?
Oh, we already asked him that too, but go
Damn, Jess,
ahead,
I'm 0 for
Alex.
1 this morning then. That's unfortunate.
I mean, in general, I think it's great that we bring attention back to Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, you're not gonna. There's a lot that you need to do to be able to scale it. That's why, Ethereum is the king for the programmable side of, of money, of digital money.
Yeah. Are you done, or are you still there? Sorry, I still saw you unmuted. Okay, maybe he's done. Yeah, go back and play it, Andrew. You guys got to get here early. I get up early. You guys got to get here early.
Yes,
10
Andrew.
a.m. Eastern every Friday. Go back and play it after we're done.
Yes, you know what Twitter needs? I set reminders for your space every Friday. The problem is I don't get notified outside of the Twitter app. Twitter actually needs to set a notification to my actual email or text message, some sort of thing to do afterwards, so I don't go
You
for a
can
coffee
add
and then
Twitter
forget.
You can add it to
Spaces
Calendar,
to
bro.
your
Google Calendar
calendar.
and
Yeah.
Apple. Yeah, that's what
I
I
don't
did.
use Google Calendar. I use Apple though, so hopefully
Yeah, you
I do
can
a
add
good
it to
job.
Apple for sure.
Yeah, you
It's
can
part
add
of
it to
being a
calendar.
guy, Andrew. That's it.
Yeah, you guys can add Twitter Spaces to your calendar. Figure it out. It just a couple of buttons there.
You also need to turn on push notifications, because if you have your push notifications for Twitter Spaces or for like Jess, then when she starts it up, you'll get a push notification that says Jess has started her Spaces.
You guys are on this app 24/7. You don't need any notifications. Just look on the top bar and you'll see the space.
Jess, my entire phone is on Do Not Disturb. Text message, calls, emails, everything is on Do Not Disturb, so I don't get nothing on one of these applications.
All right, guys, let's before we go crazy, I want to be respectful of Alex's time. So, Alex, any last words for us? Anything that's coming up that you want to share? Any key dates?
Man, thank you guys so much. Like, I really enjoyed this. I appreciate all the really freaking good questions. And no, I'm just thank you guys. Like, Rollups comes out on the 28th. We're gonna have a lot of campaigns, a lot of opportunities to earn rewards, to incentivize people to go and check it out. Use the ecosystem. If you're a builder, like, come talk to us. Like, we'd love for you to build on our chain, and you see the benefits. Like, this is what we got to do. We got to go out here to the spaces, talk to the community, explain to them the benefits, and really just keep chugging along. So yeah, thank you guys so much. It's an absolute privilege, honor to be able to speak here.
Yeah,
Alex.
thanks so.
Oh,
Go ahead, Tammy. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jess. I just wanted to say thank you for all the information and thank you for coming by today. And I did want to let you know I took Joey's advice. If you guys check the Jumbotron at the top, I did put out a poll with the music in the background, the coffee house music, and you're winning, Alex. People like the music in the background. That's all I'm saying. So that
Holy
might be a
crap!
win
I
for
see
us.
that 80%.
Yeah, the thing is
80%.
that I'm not in a coffee shop. I'm in a house with a bunch of barking dogs, so that's what you guys would hear like every 3 seconds. But we'll try to make something happen. Maybe we could play it from the other account or something like that. But yeah, Alex, thank you so much for coming. You're always welcome back. And you're also welcome to stick around if you'd like for the next part of our show. But if you need to drop off, we totally understand.